Welcome back to Dadalicious Eats, and today we're going to be making a delicious bacon carbonara. Made with streaky bacon, mushrooms, parmesan, eggs, cream. This is a delicious winter night meal. Right, so on to the ingredients. To get us started, pasta of your choice. You could use spaghetti, I'm using spirali. We've got 250 grams of streaky bacon, a few tablespoons of cream, a good amount of black pepper, 200 grams of parmesan, 4 eggs, and 200 grams of good mushrooms. To get the pasta going, let's salt some water. Let's pop the pasta in, and we're going to cook that for about 10 to 15 minutes until al dente. So moving on to the sauce. Finely grate our parmesan. So I use about 200 grams of parmesan. Most recipes for this amount, and this will feed a family of 4 easily. Most recipes probably use about 150 grams or so, but the more parmesan cheese, the better. So once that's done, pop that to one side. We're going to take our mushrooms. Now, I like to use good mushrooms from the supermarket. I don't like to use the closed cap white basic mushrooms. They don't have a lot of flavour. These woodland mushrooms give a good punch. They are delicious. I could probably just eat this whole packet just with a little bit of garlic, a little bit of butter on its own. I appreciate not everyone does like mushrooms, and that's completely fine. If you want to leave that out, go for it. Recipes like this, there are no prizes for following the recipe exactly. So just leave them out. You don't need to substitute them with something else. It's completely fine. Now let's get out our bacon. Now a lot of traditional recipes will ask for something like pancetta. Pancetta is not particularly cheap. It's the portions you get aren't particularly sizable. I think personally using something like streaky bacon fits the bill, and there is negligible difference. A massive welcome back to the channel if you're a subscriber. If you're not, then why not give it a go? Click the subscribe link now. I've got tons of family friendly and budget friendly recipes, lots of hints and tips that I want to share with you. I'd love it if you were to give the video a like, and I'd love it even more if you were to drop a comment, and I'll definitely get back to you. Now that we've got everything nicely cut up, we're just going to finish off the rest of the sauce. So in a nice big bowl, we're going to break all 4 eggs into that. So there are a ton of different carbonara recipes out there. All of them have eggs, so that's not really a debatable thing. What you will find is differences between some of the more traditionalists that say egg only and no cream, and people like myself who think actually cream is a great addition to the pasta. It just makes it a little bit more creamy. It's more appealing, certainly for the children. So once you've given the eggs a little bit of a whisk, let's add in parmesan. So I've gone and popped in all 200 grams of the parmesan that I grated earlier. You could save some for later where you sprinkle it on the top when you're serving, or you could just add an additional bit of parmesan to the recipe itself. Throw in the pepper. The more pepper you've got, absolutely the better. Gives it a good little kick. Give that a once around with the whisk. Right, it's time to get cooking. So let's take our pan, heat it up till it's nice and hot, and we're going to pop in the bacon first of all. So this bacon we're going to cook probably for about 6 or 7 minutes until the fat starts to go a little bit crispy, it's rendered down. We certainly don't want a pasta dish where you've got not necessarily undercooked fat, but certainly you don't want to be biting into the more gristly sort of fat. That's not appealing at all. And when you're cooking for a family, once one of your children has had something that they find unappealing, I think you'll agree that they hardly ever want it again. So you've got one shot pretty much with children. The one thing that is guaranteed is this is smelling absolutely delicious at the moment. So we're just going to leave that for a few more minutes. Stir it occasionally, you don't want it sticking too much at the bottom. Bacon is looking good, so we're going to pop in the mushrooms. Mushrooms themselves don't need to cook for a great deal of time. We're probably looking at about 3 to 4 minutes, as long as you've cut them into relatively small pieces. There's enough fat in the pan to help these mushrooms cook through. But we've got a nice ratio of it's pretty much 1-to-1 from a bacon and mushroom perspective. So this is looking good now. Give it a good taste. Yep, perfect. That's ready to go. So we're going to take that off the heat. We don't want to overcook this, and we're going to take that away. We're going to add that into our egg mixture. We combine this with the egg mixture right now because what we want to do is make sure that when we add everything together, everything is very evenly coated. If you leave the bacon and the mushroom in there and then add in the spaghetti, you're not getting even coverage right the way through. So just give that a good little mix. That's not really going to cook. I know the bacon's hot, but it's not really going to cook up the eggs at the moment. So the pasta's been going now for about 15 minutes. It's perfectly cooked. So we're going to just save back some of the pasta water, and that's going to help to loosen up our carbonara. And it's much better to use some of the water that the pasta's been cooking in than just fresh hot water. So probably 2 ladlefuls of that is absolutely perfect. And then we're just going to go away and drain the rest of the pasta itself. Pop the pasta back into your pan. So you don't need to clean this pan. We want to make sure we've got all the taste and all the flavour of the bacon and mushroom. Now this pan is not on at the moment, and this is the important thing. We're going to add the egg mixture in. You don't want to leave the pan on because else the egg will cook too fast and you'll essentially get a scrambled egg pasta dish. Here you're using the residual heat of the pasta to cook that egg through nicely. Let's give it a really good mix. You can see there it's cooking nicely. We've got some creaminess going on with the egg. We're just going to pop the pasta water into the dish. So probably at this stage we only need a ladleful or so. And just work that through nicely with your spoon. And you start to see that pasta water starts to create its own little sauce. And then finally we're just going to add in a little bit of cream. So we probably want about 4 tablespoons or so of the cream there. Not enough to totally flood it, but enough to make this or enough for this to combine with the egg and the pasta water and all the seasonings, just to give it a delicious creamy finish. Give that a good taste. And that's great. The pasta is perfectly cooked. You've got the parmesan coming through. The bacon's great, the mushroom's delicious, and you've got this nice peppery twist to the dish as well. So that is our carbonara finished, which is just a case of serving up the dish. So for the children, typically we'll use 1 ladleful of pasta. For an adult, probably a couple of them. Then all we're going to do is take some fresh parsley, and we're just going to rip that into little shreds, and we're just going to pop that onto the top. Absolutely delicious. Massive thanks for making it all the way to the end of the video. I think you'll find that this dish is an absolute winner with your family. Why not give it a try and let me know how it goes. I'll be back with more great recipes soon, but until then, take care.